Welcome to New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.
What's up, everybody? Dexter, Henry, Bryan, Fonseca here. New York Got Game, Knicks Weekly Live, another edition. Unbelievably, we are flying through the season. This is the third episode that we have done already. And if you're looking at the screen, you're one to usually see both of us start this, but we're starting with a guest today. His name is Jackson Gross. He is a writer for Brew Hoop, does a fantastic job covering the Milwaukee Bucks. And the reason we're having him on is because the Knicks, who are 3-4 in the season, they will be hosting the Bucks on Friday, and they have a 1-6 start to the season. Jackson, what's going on? Welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Sorry about that random Alexa doing stuff. I'm doing pretty good. Happy to be on with you guys. Really, really excited. Outside of the Bucks starting 1-6. I will say I'll make this disclaimer. While I do write for the Bucks and I do have a Bucks jacket, I am actually a Bulls fan. But yeah, I have an affinity for the Bucks. I used to actually work for the team a few years back, but yeah.
I'm glad you shared that with us. Just because I didn't hear clearly. Did you say Bulls or Wolves?
Bulls.
Yes, I am a Bulls fan. Yep.
Yeah. So it makes sense because of Milwaukee's proximity to Chicago.
Yeah.
I get that.
I got it.
Although you missed the really good Bulls years, but
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I'm. If for those who don't, I'm a 2000 baby, so I never even saw a Wizards Jordan, so I never even got that. So
man. Well, you know what? We'll have to get you to talk about the Bulls another time. We'll hope things get better for them. It's been rough the last couple of years. But speaking of rough, the start for the Milwaukee Bucks, Jackson, that has not been a good one. 1-6 to start the season. I think for Knicks fans looking at this game that maybe haven't watched the Bucks and haven't seen what's going on, but maybe have heard a little bit of stuff in the national chatter. What's going on with the Bucks? Why are they 1-6? Jackson, what is the problem? This is year 2 of Dame and Giannis. There was expectations for this team. What's going on with Milwaukee right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing going on right now is, funny enough, everyone at Media Day, at least nationally, I think made a big deal like, oh, Giannis and Dame didn't work out with each other during the offseason. This is going to be horrible for their chemistry. But honestly, the chemistry between them has looked really, really good, especially in that I was there in Milwaukee to cover that first game they had against the Cavs. Their two-man game is good. They generate offense all the time. The problem is that when you have a top-heavy roster with a lot of expensive guys and guys who are aging, is that, and one of the important keys is hurt, that it's bad. Like, I even put this in my notes, and we've been talking about this. Bobby Portis is driving us up the wall. It is driving us insane. Not only with just the amount of post touches he's been getting. I think he's top 10 in post touches with over like 100 minutes played this season already, which should not be a thing because he's bad on offense now, and he's not that great on defense. He never has been. So yeah, that's been part of it. The defense is bad. Transition defense been bad. So it hasn't been good. 26th in net rating, 23rd in defense, 27th in offense. Just take your pick.
Well, let me follow up with this real quick, because I guess there was some hope for the Bucks fan, because obviously 1-6, right? But they were 1-4, and they just lost back-to-back close games to the Cavaliers. Is there any reason to take any hope out of that, Jackson? You know, that they battled the Cavaliers, who are undefeated, best record in the NBA right now. Is there any hope that the Bucks fan can take out of that?
Yeah, and honestly enough, I am more encouraged with that game on Monday in Cleveland than I was for that game in Milwaukee, simply for the fact that they battled without Giannis against the Cavs. Andre Jackson Jr., who we'll get into a little bit, looks really good. Had a fun nugget that Rondo actually taught him how to check the fouls a little bit, because that had been a running issue throughout all of last year. He basically said, oh yeah, make sure you're looking at the scoreboard, know how many fouls you got, how many fouls the team's got. So kind of funny on that end. But No, I think there are some encouraging signs. They were really close against Boston when they traveled over there. I want to say a week and a half ago. But then you have games against the Nets and the Bulls and the Grizzlies where you get blown out. So I think the team is trending in the right direction, but with Chris Middleton, we don't know what's going on with him. I think there is cautious optimism, but the schedule is not very easy for them overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have a get right spot against a tanking team tonight, so they really have no excuses against the Utah Jazz. But on the second half of a back-to-back tomorrow in New York, which is obviously what we're here to talk about with the Knicks. This was an interesting matchup last year, but the Bucks, the Bucks look mostly the same, and the Knicks don't at all. They've made some big changes to their team, which we're going to talk about today in terms of the adjustments and how that's looked so far. Not great, but I mean, this Bucks-Knicks matchup, and I know it's tough to sort of look ahead of the Utah Jazz tonight because, you got to make sure everybody is healthy. Giannis was on the injury report. He's cleared to play. Don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but general expectations going into tomorrow's game and how important that game will be for a Bucks team that presumably would be 2-6. We'll say.
Yeah, I mean, when you put yourself in this deep of a hole at this point in the season already, every game is important. And I hate to go the whole old like coach speak route, but it's true. Like you're 5 games under 500 and you've only played 7 games at this point. So the quicker you can get this thing turned around, stack some wins, get back to 500, see where you can go from there. I think that's the biggest thing at this point for them this year is get back to 500, get a win streak going, and see where you can go from there.
One of my curiosities is that, and we're going to talk about the Knicks defense a good amount today later, and we talked about this last week, but the defense is more fragile so far. So assuming Giannis does play, let's say that he does because it'll be more interesting if he does. But you mentioned Dame and Giannis playing really well together. Where the Knicks seem soft on defense so far, and not soft from like a standpoint of like, strength or whatever, but that you can hurt them there is point guard and center. And Giannis and Dame are built to exploit those weaknesses. Is that like a significant advantage for them, or do the Bucks so far at least have too many holes otherwise to overcome a Knicks team that, isn't playing their best basketball right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think they can take advantage of it. They even took advantage of it against the Cavs from time to time. Like Giannis bullied Jarrett Allen most of the night, at least on Saturday in Milwaukee. So against the team that, yes, karl-anthony Towns, but he's not a defensive body most of the time in his career up to this point. So I think they can take advantage of that. The flip side is, and from what I saw, at least the last time these two teams played, is that really doesn't matter when the Bucks don't have a good enough point of attack defender to deal with Jalen Brunson. Because last year in Milwaukee, Brunson had all these points in the first half. The Knicks were down by like 11 at halftime. And then Dante DiVincenzo got going and a whole bunch of other guys got going. And it just kind of spitballed into Jalen Brunson having one of his best games of the season last year. So I don't know how Andre Jackson Jr. is going to do. He's been better, but I am concerned with the Bucks perimeter defense. I don't know how well they're going to be able to match up with how many options the Knicks have on the perimeter. And it worries me. It worries me. This is kind of like which one of the bad things is going to break. Is the Dame and Giannis pick and roll going to go off against the Knicks soft defense, or is the Bucks perimeter soft defense just going to get lit up? Because it's not good. It's not good right now.
Yeah, none of that sounds exciting or sexy, right? Like none of that sounds that at all. Like in terms of us basketball lovers. Thank you for everybody watching in here on Knicks Weekly Live New York Got Game. We have our special guest Jackson Gross of Brew Hoop with SB Nation rocking with us for this one. Jackson, I got to ask you about this because Chris Haynes reported this today that Andre Jackson Jr. would replace Gary Trent Jr. in the starting lineup. I am not sure I've ever seen a report where two juniors were swapped for each other, but this might be a first. There were, and I had seen some of the talk around this from Bucks Nation that they were clamoring for a change in the starting lineup. Gary Trent Jr. has not shot the ball well to start this season. What do you make of this change? Because we don't know if Andre Jackson as much of a shooter, more of a high flyer, if you want to say that, Leaper, really good athletic player. What do you make of his insertion? And is it more about defense and just trying to shore that up into the starting lineup? What do you think he can bring to the starting lineup?
Yeah, I think while, he doesn't necessarily have the shot at the NBA level right now. I mean, I covered him in college too. I went to Marquette, so I saw a lot of him covering Marquette basketball. So he's never been one of those guys, but he, in the perfect world, helps a lot of the defensive issues the Bucks have had with guarding guards this entire year. Because yes, Gary Trent has really active hands, but he's not that type of defender where he can just lock a guy down for possessions at a time, for multiple possessions. So I've been one of the people clamoring for more junior minutes. Like I said, Gary Trent, I think at this point in the year is under 30 shooting for the three ball this year. Just not a bad, something that can't really be a bad vet min signing, but he has not even come close to what the Bucks have wanted out of him. I just hope at the end of the day that Andre Jackson Jr. at least raises up the Bucks to in that starting lineup, and especially when Chris Middleton comes back. Hopefully that can provide some more depth to have a guy like Taurean Prince come off the bench as well. But I think overall, between having those two guys, I'm interested to see, especially against the Knicks, if that lineup holds again. It will. I made this joke about that Doc Rivers is finally beating the not playing young player allegations that has been his shtick throughout his entire career. So I don't know if it's going to stick, but we'll see.
We'll see. Well, you speaking of Doc Rivers made me want to ask you this: 1-6 start. You know this. You're a big NBA guy. There's a lot of talk about Doc Rivers. Teams can't win with him. He hasn't done anything since the 08 Celtics. He constantly blows 3-1 leads. He doesn't play young players. You added to that, Jackson, as well, too, right? Is he on the hot seat? Like, if this gets worse, if I text you in next week and I'm like, hey, Jackson, they're 1-9. They're one. Like, is how much of a leash does he have? Because Giannis wanted Adrian Griffin last year. That did not work out. Doc Rivers came in. If this gets off to a bad start, what is the seat warm now? Or are we calling it hot? What are we saying about this, Jackson?
Yeah, that's been something I've been wrestling with since the offseason. We did this whole preview series for our podcast over at Brew Hoop, and I talked about it. My biggest concern with this team was, is Doc the right coach? Like, yes, led a lot of successful teams throughout his entire career in Philly and Los Angeles, and obviously Boston, Orlando to a certain extent. My worry it was and still is he the right guy for this team? And I still don't know. I'm not quite. His seat is like if you used a like a gas stove. It's like at the medium. It's right. It's at the medium right now on the gas stove. Because while he hasn't had a 5 with the Bucks, he's got 48 games under his belt, but the sample size hasn't been good.
Right.
I had Bucks fans in the comments of some of our articles saying Adrian Griffin wasn't the problem, which I don't think I'm ready to go that far. But the offense, at least statistically, was better. Who knows how that wraps up with how they were playing certain competition at the time. But Doc's offense hasn't been very good, and the defense still hasn't been good either. So I know it's not the hot take answer, but I think it's the most correct answer for this point. Yeah, like you said, if you text me and they're 2-12, that dial's getting turned up a lot more.
Right. It's not going to be a medium anymore. We can't say medium anymore for the heat level. One last thing before we let you go, Jackson. Obviously, with this 1-6 start, there has been talk, and then you even saw some reporting of the Knicks being linked to this, although I don't see how this would happen. But there are Giannis trade rumors. Oh, you do see how it happened, Brian.
The money's there. I mean, we don't have probably time to get like fully into it now, but the money, you can make the money work.
Okay, and we can get fans in the chat. Jackson, I'm gonna let you cook on this. I'm not gonna put the heat on you at Hive. I'm gonna let you cook on this. Look, Giannis is right now. You got to say, if you're taking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his time with the Bucks, he's the greatest player in franchise history. There's now talk about trading him, especially if this gets worse, if this goes south. How is Bucks Nation feeling about these trade rumors surrounding the best player in franchise history, Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I think we all got a kind of shot in the arm. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. The last 3 days for me, honestly, have been a blur. Got a shot in the arm because Bobby Marks was on ESPN the other day, and he basically said there's nothing to these rumors about the Bucks don't want to trade Giannis. Giannis doesn't want to leave. He did an interview with Sam Amick with The Athletic, basically kind of joking like, oh, if we don't win a championship, I should ask for a trade. So it's all been, I think there's been some wish casting to get Giannis out of a small market by some of the more national people, your ESPNs of the world. So I think that's been part of it. But obviously you're concerned because you don't want to go through what, I'm not saying to this same level, but what Pelicans fans went through with Anthony Davis trading one of their best players in franchise history. And they're mid. The Pelicans are mid at this point, the best I can say about them. And the Lakers won a championship. So you never want to see that especially with a small market team. But it would take something like devastating to happen. Like the Bucks ban Thanasis from Pfizer and Bucks facilities for like Giannis to request a trade. Like it would have to be something personal for Giannis to want to leave Milwaukee. He's been there for 11 years, going on 12 years at this point.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time, but anytime trade rumors come and they are linked with the Knicks, this. That only intensifies, right? Like that only goes up.
Especially when Karl-Anthony Towns and Giannis both make roughly $49 million this year.
Yeah. And that's only going to intensify. It's going to be interesting to see. Knicks and Bucks, they play tomorrow. Thank you for everybody for checking with Jackson Gross, our guest from Brew Hoop. Shout out to my guy Ron from Still Knicks Fans. Said what's good to everybody. Salute to Brian Dexter and Jackson Gross. Jackson, the game tomorrow should be a fun one between the Knicks and Bucks. Like Brian said, we will see if the Bucks take business against the Jazz. They should, but this is the NBA where anything can happen. You can see upset. Yeah, fingers crossed. I get it. Anything can happen on any night. Jackson, we appreciate you coming on and talking some Bucks basketball with us. We will definitely get you back on here again to join us. We appreciate you so much. Be well. I hope things turn around for the Bucks, and I'm not texting you in your week saying what's good with Doc Rivers and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. For having me on, it was an absolute blast. And yeah, I don't want to see. No offense, guys. I don't want to see Giannis in a Knicks jersey anytime soon.
We understand.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but it could happen.
You never know. We understand. I don't know if the fans in the chat will understand, but we understand. We understand what you're saying. Yeah. Appreciate you, Jackson. Be well. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, that is Jackson Gross of Brew Hoop. Check out his work there. Doing a fantastic job covering the Milwaukee Bucks. Brian, we could talk more about Giannis potentially being in a Knicks uniform. That's going to get the Knicks fan base excited. As we didn't mention here, just want to recap for everybody before we bring in our next guest, which will be Andrew Claudio, my guy from Knicks Film School. Knicks right now 3-4 in the season. I've lost back-to-back games. Lost to the Rockets earlier this week. Lost to the Hawks last night. And a lot of the talk around the Knicks fan base. I've seen this in multiple places. I've had fans talking to me, texting me. Somebody asked me about this on the street. What is it? The Knicks offense? Is the Knicks defense? What's going on, Dex? What's wrong with the Knicks? Relax, people. 7 games. We can chill. I'm not saying there aren't things to talk about. I'm just saying we can chill about this. Shout out to Jay Quaza. This is my man who's Brian's Pokemon friend.
Yes.
Shout out to you, Jay Quaza. Did I say it right, Jay Quaza? Or did I mess it up? Is it Quaza?
No, you said it right this time.
Oh, Jay. Okay, Jay Quaza. Greetings and salutations to all. Brunson has had difficulties offensively against bigger or more athletic defenders this year. The NBA is aware of this. Could be why the Bucks made this lineup change. Fair point. You saw how he struggled a little bit with Dyson Daniels against the Hawks the other night. So I understand that. We're going to get into more of that around the Knicks, but now it's time to bring in our second guest of the night. Beautifully, we had 2 guests on the show. This guy is the man. He is a executive producer extraordinaire. He is the man behind making Knicks Film School looking so good. It's my guy, Andrew Claudio, executive producer of Knicks Film School. He joins us now. Andrew, are you there? We do not see the camera on, but are you with us? All right, Andrew's not there. I will text Andrew and get him back there. We'll get Andrew back with us. Andrew had to go take care of some business, but he'll be back with us. I'll get once
live streams, folks.
Live stream stuff. Andrew's there. Oh, Andrew just texted me. Andrew said that he is here. He just didn't have his camera on. We did not see him. Andrew, we got you. We do not see you.
You can hear me though?
We can hear you.
Okay. For some reason, my camera won't turn on.
No. That's not
okay.
good.
I said enable camera. This is like my forte in enabling things. Hold on.
You are.
There we go.
There we
Not
go.
my first rodeo. Look at me.
No,
Thank you, fellas.
I expect more of you as an executive producer. Like
this is the first time I'm using Restream. Okay,
you did text me that.
I am in a new neighborhood as far as I'm concerned, and
it's
I
fine.
just need to figure out, what the lay of the land is. Okay.
Understood. Well, we introduced you. This is Andrew Claudio, for folks who don't know, executive producer extraordinaire for Knicks Film School. Does a great job. Also, I'll have to add, this man also hosts a fantastic Mets podcast called Mets Therapy, because if you're a Mets fan, you know that you need therapy. And I'm a Mets fan and have needed therapy, and it's been therapeutic going and talking with Andrew about the Mets. As we
little less this year, I'll say that much. This was a very healing October for Mets fans, at least for those 2 weeks.
True.
Yeah, we just need therapy for other things now. Andrew, want to ask you a question. So the Knicks defense, because we were just talking about this, they're 20th right now. Now 9th when schedule adjusted, but 20th right now. And Karl-Anthony Towns is getting a lot of this because of the drop coverage, the attacking him constantly. If you're an opposing team, obviously you've known even before he was a Knick that you want to get him on switches and attack him because his footwork is all over the place. And Atlanta, particularly in the last game, was getting a lot of backdoor cut after backdoor cut at the rim. How much of this is solvable with Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5? We're only 7 games in, and we've been saying, hey, give it 20 games, we'll see. But I think with that piece of it, like, I'm not sure what the best version of it looks like.
Yeah, there's layers to it, because my colleague at Knicks Film School, Benji, made this point, and I agree with him, that the whole wing stop of it all, the Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Hart first layer of defense is like the whole point is that we understand what Cat is, so there's going to be fewer attempts at the rim, and the Knicks do rank toward the top of the league in fewest rim attempts allowed. They're also toward the bottom of the league at the percentage at the rim, which is understood. I do think that the reality for Knicks fans is setting in, and this isn't to avoid like the how do you fix it question, but they made a concession in this trade. We've been through 4 years of rim protection, and that was the culture that we lived with. I mean, go back to Nerlens Noel that first season, and the whole backbone of this defense, and really the backbone of this team, was 48 minutes of rim protection, whether it be Mitchell Robinson or Nerlens Noel or Isaiah Hartenstein or Precious Achua. That does not exist anymore. And there are some growing pains that are going to come with that. And I don't think, I mean, the goal obviously is to have as good a defense as possible. But I think if you go for a ceiling of offense, you're just going to have to concede at a certain point, unless you're getting I know you just talked with your guest about Anthony Davis, like that trade, like that. Those are generational two-way players that are able to do great things on both ends of the floor. Cat was brought here to be one of the best stretch fives in NBA history on the offensive end. And that's what he's been so far. Defensively, you're just going to have to live with the fact that you're going to get killed and drop when they get past that first line of defense. And when you're playing a good point guard in Trae Young that can find cutters. Also, just when Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart don't really give a damn, you're gonna have a tough night defensively, which is really the combination of things that I thought led to the mess we saw on Wednesday night. So it's a long way of saying I don't know how much, unless you're putting him back at the 4 when Mitch comes back, which I think that negates the whole point of getting Cat. And maybe that's like a certain matchups type of thing, but I think you're just gonna have to live with the fact that this is not the most skilled center defensively, but he's one of the most skilled centers offensively.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, because I just see a comment that came through for us. DN says, get Josh out of the starting lineup, get a real power forward, Precious Achua, in the starting lineup, and move OG to his natural position at the 3, problem solved. Here's my thing on this, Andrew, and I'll see what I love these early season 7 games. Let's change the starting lineup. Like, people are talking about you have to build chemistry. Guys have to get to each other, but you want to change the starting lineup after 7 games. And this is not just solely aimed at you, DN. I'm not singling you out here. You just happen to make the comment. I understand the thought process behind what you're saying, and I'm not saying it's crazy. It's not what I'm saying at all. But is it that simple? Because if you believe in what you talked about with Wingstop, right? And Andrew, I remember you and I talked about this in Vegas at Summer League when we were sitting with CP, and we talked about this, right? The whole point, but this was before Towns was on the team, before Bodega Cat was here, was like, all right, well, you don't got to worry about rim protection if dudes can't get to the rim. However, we've seen lack of resistance in the paint. That is literally what killed the Knicks against the Hawks, along with turnovers and giving up second chance points, right? There's so much thought about fixing the offense here, but I'm like, as Brian started off here, that's not the issue. And does this need to be a lineup switch, or does there just need to be acceptance of what you said, where this is what they are and they need to just be the best possible version of that?
So there's two answers there. I agree with what you just said before I came on. It's been 7 games. Please stop panicking, Knicks fans.
Yeah.
We got used to the continuity and the level, the floor that we saw because the backbone of this team is defense. You're always gonna play a ton of close games, but you're never gonna be out of a game. Like that was the try-heartedness of this team, where no matter what, their physicality is gonna keep them in games. And we really never saw the Knicks got blown out outside of that Julius Randle thumbs down season. Like that, there was a floor to this team, and so far what we've seen this year is a red carpet to the rim, which is part of the adjustment period. So I'm also preaching patience. I love how the example that always gets used when it's like, well, a team needs to get used to playing with each other is the Miami Heat of the Heatles, who were 9-8 after 17 games. That's the best case scenario. The Suns last year or 2 years ago traded for Kevin Durant. They're just now really figuring it out, and they're 7-1 this year, and that took 2 coaching changes. Like the Bucks are still figuring it out. Like right. I am understanding that this could take like 30, 40 games before they start to really hit a groove. Now, I'm not saying they can be like 20-30 after those 50 games, or I guess 20-25 after 45 games and hit a groove. But go back to LeBron's first year back in Cleveland, when they were still figuring things out with incorporating LeBron to a team that hadn't won a ton. They were 30-29 after 59 games. So some of these things take time. And like the Cavs then went on a run and ended up winning 50 plus games that season. but there's a learning curve that goes along with getting a new roster together, and that's after one big trade. The Knicks made two in the span of 2 months. So I'm preaching patience. Having said that, I actually agree with the commenter's suggestion about Precious in the starting five. If it comes to that, if we're 20, 30 games into this and there's still a turnstile, if you're getting past Wingstop, you may need to make some type of adjustment. I don't mind Josh Hart coming off the bench. He's going to be the guy everybody points to because, I mean, whether it's you want to go a true 5 out and put Deuce at 2, or if you want a better defensive 4 and put Precious in there. Precious could also guard the 5 at the other end, which is good. So I'm right there with the suggestion. I just disagree with the last 2 words, problem solved. It just creates different problems.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. And Deanna, I say I appreciate you in the comments, was not trying to single you out. I don't think the idea is bad. I'm not sure if now you need to do that, right? Like I'm kind of with Andrew on this, and Brian, I don't know if you're with me on this, and that we need to see a little bit more time. I think there's a lot of excitement around this Knicks season. I understand it from the Knicks fan base. They wanted to see this team. Andrew, you saw when we did a season preview, myself, J-Mac, CP, we talked about how we'll get to the 10-game start in a bit, but we knew this could be challenging. We understood what it could be. Ron from Still Knicks Fans makes a point here, says Tibbs' defense requires a defensive anchor. We do not currently have one. Tibbs has forced OG and Bridges to gamble and help more instead of staying home. Sure. Is OG and Mikal having to do more work than they probably normally do? Absolutely. And is that some of Towns playing the drop coverage? Whatever. Yes, I understand that. And I understand where Deanna is coming from in wanting to fix those flaws. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
The problem also is that, like, another thing you sacrifice in making the deals you made is depth. And right. For example, against the Hawks, you had 6 guys play 28 plus minutes, and that's it.
Yep.
And your starting 5 all played 38 plus minutes on November 6th, the 7th game of the season. Now, it's Tom Thibodeau. Like, this is his steez. This is what he does. But at the same time, like, they also don't, like, this is what you are right now, especially because you are missing Precious Achiuwa, you are missing Mitchell Robinson. So this is what you are, and you're trying to get the best version of that. Now, coming up on the schedule, you have a Milwaukee team that, they've gotten off to a bad start. They're going to be coming off on the second end of a back-to-back and traveling because they're going to play Utah, probably beat them, and then fly to New York and get that. So that's one that the Knicks can potentially get. And then you have Philly, who now is going to be without Tyrese Maxey for a couple weeks. That's coming up on the schedule. Indiana's coming up too, but they're going to want some payback. I don't think that game's going to go exactly how it did the first time, but it was a good matchup for the Knicks last time. But I think Andrew, part of this is you kind of are what you are for now, and it's still very early. Like we were talking about, hey, they might be 5-5 after the first 10 games. I think most people would say, hey, winning 2 of the next 3 would be ideal. And then moving on from there, like I thought that this team was going to be 3rd in the Eastern Conference. So to me, in terms of the regular season, so to me, like none of this is particularly surprising because all of this is a process, and people have to remember in modern NBA, teams don't really practice like that. So it's going to take not just 20. We're saying give it 20, but it's actually going to take longer, to your point earlier about this being a 30, 40, and potentially even longer process than that.
Yeah. I want to correct myself, by the way. The Cavs in 2014-15 started 19-20, not 30-29. Forgot the numbers. I got to make sure I'm accurate with my polls like that.
That's why we expect nothing less from you, Andrew, to make sure things are accurate. That's why I expected the camera to be on. It's the same.
Listen, when I first showed up, I think I jumped on your screen accidentally. So
no, you were good. No, you were
good.
Okay. You were good.
I've never used the thing, and
no,
this is why you want to know the real thing, Dex, is I get super defensive unnecessarily,
which I do all the time.
There's a thing called pre-production that I did not get to be a part of, where I got to make sure my camera was on and my mic was on. Okay, so this will show up and we'll do it live. Bill O'Reilly was not part of the email.
Wait. Did I get compared to Bill O'Reilly here?
Unnecessarily again.
It was the reference.
It's the reference.
I know.
The do it
I know the
live. Yeah,
reference.
the do it live.
I'm joking. And that
Dex,
was
I promise that is the only thing I was comparing.
Oh,
And
no,
I know the
no,
climate.
no. I understand. I understand. I like the shade there. I like the shade. I thought it was good.
I have a really good joke, but I'm not gonna risk
yeah,
it. But
I do, Andrew. I do want to ask you because I do want to get to the offense in one second, and I do want to talk about. I know Brian wanted to go there, but this road trip, 2-2, right? Win the first two at Miami, at Detroit. Obviously, lose the last two at Houston, at Atlanta. What did you make of it? I look at it as disappointing. I tweeted last night. I said that was a terrible loss for the Knicks. I thought against Atlanta, considering you're up 5 with just over 2 minutes ago. Is this a disappointing road trip to come back home 2-2, especially after how they started? Was this a disappointing road trip for you?
Brian just hit it. The minutes that they're playing right now, and like this is just what Tibbs asks of his guys. It's like the biggest thing I took away from the pod that he did with the roommates boys over the summer. Is that like he blatantly said, like, sometimes I ask more of you guys when we're shorthanded because I think I want to play my best players, and this is like the man does have trust issues, but this is just like who he is. Like, you take the good with the bad at a certain point, and I would argue there's more good than bad. You just hope that your players don't die on the way to the good. I think you add in the travel. They apparently got stuck in Houston because of some rain for a couple days. I know we don't take that seriously, but you add in the minutes that they're playing. It looked like their befuddlement those last 2.5 minutes on Wednesday was a bit of them running out of gas or just some brain cramps at the end of the game. Would you like them to have left this road trip 3-1 and come home at 4-3? Yes, of course. I'm also, again, still choosing to have a little more patience, and it's disappointing and frustrating. I recognize this team got put together a little over a month and a half ago, so I'm a little more, and they're shorthanded. Like, that's the biggest thing that I can't stress enough. They were already shorthanded right after the trade, after they basically made a 3-for-1 because you lost Mitch, then traded Dante and Julius. Yes, you got Cat back, but then like move up in the order campaign, move up in the order Landry Shamet, move up in the order Precious Achua, and all three of them are down right now. So, I'm having some grace as I evaluate this road trip, but it's hard not to. I can understand if someone walks away with this being like, man, that's disappointing to lose to a Hawks team like that.
No, yeah. I get that. Got some comments there. Jay Quazza checking in. We were very successful last season with iHeart and Precious playing together with OG at the 3. Play Cat and Precious together when he returns. I think we will absolutely see some of that. Yeah. I mean, that speaks to a little bit of what DN was talking about and what he's looking to do in terms of the lineup, which I do think we will see some of that, which is why, you talk about some of the patience. Just to let everybody know, thank you, everybody, for watching, checking in with us on Knicks Weekly Live. We're joined by Andrew Claudio, executive producer for Knicks Film School. I will be talking on the next episode of New York Got Game a little bit about the data behind some of what Brian and Andrew were talking about with Tom Thibodeau and playing players, and why maybe Knicks fans should be a little bit concerned, right? I'm not pushing the panic button. I'm not saying that, but just a little concerned. And we're going to really dig into that data this week with a guest. So that should be really interesting, along with previewing the Philly game. Brian, I know you wanted to get to the offense.
Yeah, let's do that quickly before we let Andrew go. The offense looks kind of disorganized at times.
Really,
we could say. Like,
okay.
I think they're fourth in offense right now. So it's a weird thing to say, but in that Hawks game, it felt weird, particularly down the stretch. So this is maybe more of a fourth quarter thing, but the Hawks go on that run, and it's like all the things that they were doing before were just not working anymore. And there have been times this year with the offense where like it's flowing. We talked about how they shot well against the Celtics, but that was a matchup where they just couldn't keep 3-point volume up. And they're actually shooting really well from 3 right now. But I still feel like the offense needs some cleaning up and is a little bit uneasy. Maybe it's because like it's kind of inconsistent. Like the numbers are good, but you're not getting it at sort of a consistent enough rate, I feel like, as evidence from like the jump between maybe the Houston game and the Atlanta game.
So I light pushback, because I actually think the offense has looked more elite as they've gotten to play more together, more reps together than disorganized. But I do know what you're referencing in crunch time, and I'm he's a lifetime pass, but I think Jalen Brunson's learning to play with the stretch five, and I think that's what you're seeing. Like Josh Hart pointed at Karl-Anthony Towns wide open because Jalen's used to his center setting a screen to get him going downhill, and then at times when Hartenstein would come and set the screen even higher, Hartenstein's then in the short roll. Like remember those floaters against the Sixers last year that were so lethal? Well, now his center isn't rolling; he's popping. Like this is just something Jalen Brunson's not.
And he's shooting great too. Like you mentioned it earlier. Karl-Anthony Towns is deliver like for all the stuff I give him on defense, and he deserves it. Even though his defensive rating like makes it look like he's doing better than he is on defense, but individual defensive rating is always going to favor centers.
Right.
His offense has been great, like from just a purely statistical standpoint. But I do feel like Jalen Brunson in particular. Others too, like the shooting is coming and going, but with Jalen Brunson in particular, it's like he hasn't looked as comfortable yet. To your point,
that again, that's part of him learning how to play with Cat, and I think that's I think it's honestly the biggest adjustment. There are times where it's looked elite, and he like when we were just so spoiled last January when they made the OG trade, and it all fit. You had a bunch of guys that were already playing together, and then you just added one of the most perfect fits ever. And then we never got to see that team again. And then this year, there's a little bit more on both ends of the floor that take more time getting used to. Like Cat, yes. Did I think he had a bad game last night defensively? Yes. I think a lot of Knicks did. Cat also had 34 and 14. Like he did his part. And where Jalen's learning to get used to it is like how much of the Knicks asked from their center on the offensive end, like in the Tom Thibodeau era, like they never called plays for Mitch. They never called plays for Nerlens Noel. Hartenstein, it was as a hub, but they were never calling his number on the offensive end. And so part of the 5-out of it all is you have to take advantage of ball movement and not mismatch hunt. And Jalen, the show in crunch time has been like, all right, Jalen, do stuff, like take us home. He almost like a closer, and he hasn't been hitting his shots in crunch time at the moment. And there's been better quality shots available that he could have used his gravity to, pass out. It's why that one drive he had where Cat got him going downhill and he popped and he was wide open above the break. Josh Hart's pointing to him from the other side of the floor, and Jalen's just going one-on-one, I should say, into the at the rim. That's the other part. I don't know if that scares you guys a little bit, but this really started in the playoffs last year, that these lengthy wings have really started to give him trouble. Kelly Oubre, Nick Batum, Aaron Nesmith. You saw it this year with Amen Thompson. You saw Dyson Daniels last night. Whether it be, pick a Cavalier, like Okoro's given him in trouble for years. And it seems to be not necessarily a kryptonite, but just something he struggles with. So, look, again, lifetime pass. And I think in crunch time, they are going to have to get a little more creative, especially when they have another dynamic offensive player. And Jalen also got into some habits last year where he was the only offensive player that you could really call his number in crunch time last season. So that I'd say would be the big thing that they're learning how to do.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to learn and figure some of that out, Andrew. I think you make some really good points there in terms of that. He's used to taking him home, and he's going to have to learn to trust how this team has been built around him. That, again, this goes back to patience. That is going to take time, right? Like that is going to take time.
So Dex, like, I mean, Brian, you too, like, we do remember how often Julius Randle had the ball in crunch time when he was here. Like it was at times a little like, Julius, you have teammates. Yeah. But like they did your turn, my turn. And when Julius had it going well, like remember the first Anunoby game where just pick a Timberwolf, he was torching him down the stretch, and difficult shot after difficult shot was being made. Sometimes you get some shot luck, but like they also use Jalen off ball a lot in crunch time. And if Julius gets going downhill, he kicks out someone in the corner or someone on the wing. you have your opportunities from someone else. From the Julius shoulder injury on, their only crunch time option was Jalen Brunson, which is what he's having to unlearn through this part of the season, where for 2 months he was going to have one version of teammates that he knew and was mostly playing, except now his other college buddy is coming into the mix. And then 2 days before training camp, they were like, here is one of the most gifted offensive players in NBA history, make it work. And through 7 games, at times it's looked very elite. And in crunch time, it hasn't looked the best. So this is going to take some time.
It was Jalen Brunson go make it work, and it was also occasionally, hey, let's kick out the shooters, and then Isaiah Hartenstein go get an offensive rebound.
Yeah,
because they would get a lot of those. And this year, they're not even in the top 20 in offensive rebounding yet.
It's completely out of the repertoire now.
Yeah.
That I think is the biggest shift I've had, is that them getting beaten on the boards. Like Cat had 9 the other night, and 6 were off his own misses. Like he was missing bunnies.
Yeah.
And so he was able, like it's almost like he was trying to get a double-double. If someone was trying to get a double-double and they were like, oh, I missed. It was one of those types of things.
Some say it's the Angel Reese. I do not, but some say it is. I do not.
No,
I'm pro Angel Reese. So
yeah,
that's an internet thing.
No Angel Reese slant. No Angel Reese slant here. Real quick before we let you go, Andrew. Knicks, obviously, they're going to look to bounce back and try to end this 2-game skid, losing streak, whatever you want to call it, against the Bucks. What's the keys to them getting a win at MSG tomorrow night against the Bucks? And while you're at it, let the people know where you will be watching the Bucks game tomorrow night, because I will see you tomorrow night. I will be joining you to watch the Bucks game because Andrew invited me out. And I'm maybe we should have a pre-production meeting about that. We should talk about
I will give you I'll give you a call. I'll tell you, here, Dex, here's what you got to do. If we film something from T-Squared Social, I promise I will brief you ahead of time with where people, you need to stand, what the lighting is. There'll be markers on the floor. This is why Andrew
Claudio is the producer extraordinaire, because he cares about his boy so much that he would let him know. I appreciate that.
What Dexter is alluding to is that Knicks Film School will be having a watch party at T-Squared Social in New York City. It is, for my money, and I am biased, but I also do objectively say it's the best place to watch a game in New York City. It's got wall-to-wall screens, including a gigantic big screen where we'll be watching the game. Probably the highest ceiling for one of these sports bars in New York City. Yeah, like it's got golf simulators, it's got Pop-A-Shot, they got darts, whatever you have. They have duck pin bowling, and we'll be watching the game there together. One of our watch parties is doing a bunch this year, close to 15 this season throughout the year. Also at halftime, we'll be giving away 2 tickets to an upcoming Knicks game. In fact, the Wednesday against the Bulls, to anyone in attendance that is following us and our drink sponsor, Juan Please, on Instagram. So you just have to show up, follow a couple people on Instagram, and you get entered for a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Knicks game. That's all you got to do. Come attend a watch party with a bunch of Knicks fans and follow someone on Instagram. So come on down. We'll be there for about 6:30 on, and then tip off is at 7:30. That should be fun. And as far as keys to a Knicks win, the Bucks have not shot well this year. I know they made the starting lineup change, so that might contribute to like putting another wing on Jalen Brunson, putting Jackson on him. Whether Giannis plays or not, I mean, it's the most obvious thing to say, but like the guy was just coming off an injury. I don't know if he's going to play a back-to-back, so we'll see. I actually thought he would have skipped the Utah game to then play at the Garden. So
they need this win. So
get the Bucks win, but like in the world of back-to-backs being illegal, I'm wondering if he's going to make if he's going to play in back-to-back games when he just, is recovering for an injury. As far as the play style way the Knicks can win this game, the Bucks are known for their very deep drop with Brook Lopez. The Knicks have been murdering drop coverage all season. So, look for that. If they put Brook Lopez on Josh Hart, that's honestly a recipe for success, because just bring Josh into the action, and then that's Jalen Brunson in the mid-range. He's also like historically torched the Bucks. If you guys remember that in-season tournament game early in the season where it looked like Julius Randle forgot how to play basketball, it also looked like Jalen Brunson might win the MVP. He scored 45 points in that game. It was a bit of a breakout game. So maybe a little drop coverage from the Bucks can get JB going in this one. As well as the fact that I mentioned the Bucks haven't really been shooting this season. Dame's shooting 39%. Taurean Prince is shooting 56%, but is I believe, only taking 3 a game.
Yeah.
And then just go down the line. Taurean Prince under 30. Not Taurean Prince. Gary Trent Jr. under 30. Bobby Portis under 30. Brooke Lopez under 30. Giannis has taken 3 threes this year. Like this might actually be a game where the Knicks playing some drop could be beneficial. And the wing stop, if you just sag a little off, you should be okay to again, the Giannis of it all changes things. But I think forcing them to take some threes could actually help you win the math game. I say this and watch them go 25 of 50 tomorrow from 3, because that's always what happens.
2 of 3 from 3 right now against Utah. They're up 13-9.
You got to be kidding me. Giannis is 2 for 3 from 3.
No, not Giannis.
Oh,
okay.
Just the team. Just the team.
All right. See, they can get their regression out against the Utah White Flags. And
yes,
they can do that there and then come to the Garden and they can regress back to what they've been for most of the season.
Hopefully it is tonight, because some of us have an over on that game.
Some of us. Brian clearly talking about himself. So we'll go there. Folks, that is Andrew Claudio of Knicks Film School. Does a great job. Executive producer extraordinaire, which told me I need to have a pre-production meeting with him before. So I have to do that. I'm going to contact him about, producing my appearance at tomorrow night's Knicks Film School watch party. If you want to watch the Knicks and hang out with some really dope people, definitely go and check that out for sure. Definitely do that. Definitely pull up. Definitely check it out. Andrew, I appreciate you. This is the first time live. It will not be the last. I'll make sure next time there will be a pre-production meeting.
I was kidding. It's fine. I'll make sure my camera's on next time.
We got to treat you right. Brian and I have to treat you right. My producer, Jeff, who's producer extraordinaire as well, we'll make sure we treat you right. We got to make sure we treat you right.
You treated me just fine. Thank you so much for having me, gentlemen. I look forward to the next time I'm on here, whether my camera is on or off.
Anytime, my friend. Keep preaching the patience. I know the Knicks fans appreciated you on here, and I will see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
all right,
Andrew.
there you go. Andrew Claudio, Knicks Film School, executive producer extraordinaire, joining us here on Knicks Weekly Live. We are a little bit over time. We're going to wrap this up pretty quickly, but if you remember last week, thanks to my man Brian, we decided to do a new segment here on the show called Real or Not. We talked about what's real, what's not. Once again, want to thank everybody for checking in the comments. There's been a lot of you today. Shout out to my guy Ron, still Knicks fans, DN, Jay Quaza, Knicks 100 a game. See you checking in. Appreciate all you guys checking in and rocking with us through it. So thank you guys for checking in and supporting and sharing. We appreciate that. Real quick, Brian, want to ask you about some things, real or not. We had a lot of fun with this last week.
I have one for you as well.
Oh, you got one? Okay. All right. Your boy, Bodega Cat, out here getting 6 straight double-doubles. Okay. We kind of might have teased this a little bit because he's been a beast on the boards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's been killing it. Real or not? Is this rebounding real that we're seeing with Cat? Should we expect him to be a beast on the boards, or is this a fool's gold we're seeing right here?
I mean, the rebound rate is 23.6. So the sustainability of that, I mean, here's the thing. He kind of has to get rebounds the way that the starting lineup is set up. Like, he kind of has to be the one just getting them because of, like, OG Anunoby's not going to generally get a ton of rebounds. Mikal Bridges either. I think the double-double streak is real. I think he's going to average, like, he should average 10+ boards the way they're using him right now this year. And the Knicks kind of need him to, because, like, defensively, we've already talked about the struggles. So I would say that's real. I don't know about the rate at which he's rebounding right now being real. He's 5th in defensive rebounds per 36 minutes and 10th in offensive rebound percentage. Like, those are numbers that are pretty high. But I do think he can keep a double-double streak going and get 10+ rebounds for, a lot of games. He's done it throughout his career. Not as much lately, but he's done it throughout his career. So
yeah, we've seen him do it before. Yeah, I'm impressed with the rebounding rate. I think, like you, I'm concerned about the sustainability of it all. That's something I want to see. Is this really sustainable for him going forward? Excuse me. We'll see how that goes. Okay, next thing, real quick, we're gonna run through before we wrap here. Tyler Kolek, he gets 9 minutes against the Hawks on Wednesday. 2 of 2 from the field. Both of his shots from downtown. Obviously hits both of them. 6 points. Also dropped a dime in the game. Look, I know a lot of Knicks fans have been wanting to see more Tyler Kolek. I liked what I saw out of him in summer league. Tyler Kolek, does he deserve more minutes here? Is the production we're seeing from him in limited minutes? He's looked solid. The Knicks need some more punch off the bench. They did have 22 points off the bench last night, 16 from McBride, 6 from him, nothing from Jericho Sims. We'll get to him another day. But should Tyler Kolek get more minutes here?
He kind of has to because of the injury situation right now in the backcourt with Cameron Payne, for example, not playing. I think here's the thing, though. Like, Cam Payne's not playing right now. He's on a minimum deal.
Yep.
If you're the Knicks, it's like the Hawk Purdy, which we should get to in the comments. We got a comment about Ariel Hawk Purdy. He's popular these days. And Hawk Purdy, people want him to play over Jericho Sims. This is going to be a similar situation where they're going to want to see Kolek over Cameron Payne. And the guy who is on the expiring contract is going to get the first crack. And if the young guy could pass him, then the organization would be like, great, keep the young guy. So
right.
I think as long as they're shorthanded, he's going to have to play more minutes. Now, does he deserve it? I think so far, I mean, I liked him going into the draft, and it was a draft that didn't produce a lot of players that a bunch of us like. So sure, why not? I like to see him. He's good.
Yeah, I see DN checking in on the comments. He said 15 minutes from him a night. Listen, I would like that. I'd like to see a little bit of relief off the starters. And this is something that DN's bringing up here that we're going to get into, like I said, in the next episode of God Game that'll drop on Monday. Going to talk about these Knicks minutes. I know a lot of you out there have been talking about it, but let's talk about what's really real with that. And is there anything that could change in terms of what Tom Thibodeau does? I know change is hard for some people. I get all that, but I'm just wondering, is there something that could happen out here? Brian's like, nah. Brian, before
I don't think he's not getting 15 minutes again.
Not getting 15 minutes?
Not right now.
I don't think Tibbs is going to play Jalen
Brunson 32, 33 minutes a game. That's I don't know about that. If they're shorthanded, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Not yet, at least.
You said you had something for me before we go.
The 3-point shooting, real or not, they're first in 3-point percentage right now.
Right.
In the NBA, although their 3-point rate is like 21st. So it's not like the most attempts, but real or not, the 3-point shooting, which is right now 42% as a team. A lot of that is karl-Anthony Towns, but also Jalen Brunson's at 46. OG Anunoby's at 43. Mikal Bridges, it doesn't really feel like it at all, but he's actually at 37. It feels a lot lower than that. I would say no to this. I don't think they're going to become a bad 3-point shooting team. I think they can be a good one, but I don't think they're going to be first in the NBA all season. I don't.
I would say no. I don't think they'll be first in the NBA all season. Would it shock me if they were top 5 in the NBA all season? No, it wouldn't shock me if they were top 5 in 3-point percentage. Here's the thing. The reason why I say that is this was the thing about when it came early on. Oh, they need to get up more threes. It was a math problem. They did need to get up more threes. My thing with that is like, it's cool if you're getting them more threes, but what's the quality of those threes? The one thing I will say about the Knicks, if you watch their offense, is I think the word you used, Brian, was clunky earlier about their offense.
Yeah,
and it has
particularly late.
There's been times where it's looked good and then times it's clunky. The one thing I will say, I think if you're looking at the offense, the Knicks are getting good looks from three. They are getting really good quality looks from downtown, and the volume clearly has gone up. So now if the volume's going up and you're continuing the quality, and I think we all here would believe the offense, as they get more comfortable, will get better. I do believe that. Then I think that bodes well because they do have some good shooters on the team. They do have guys that can knock down the shot. We talked about Deuce McBride last week in the segment. He is shooting an unreal level, and so is karl-Anthony Towns. Those numbers are going to come down. We know that, right? So I'm with you. I don't think they're going to be first, but I do think this is the makings of a good shooting team from three because of the quality of shots they're getting, is particularly when Brunson is penetrating, OG Anunoby's willing to penetrate and look for guys. They're looking for each other, and they're taking quality threes. If they continue to take a quality level of threes, they've got enough shooters. Now, can that even get better when they add maybe some other guys that come back, like a Landry Shamet or Matt Ryan if he starts playing? Does that help with the bench and some of the shooting there? Kolek, if he gets more minutes. They've got good shooters on this team. I think they can shoot the ball well. So I'll say I think the shooting can be real. Will it be as high as it is now? No. If it dropped down to 38% as a team, 39%, would I be shocked? Yeah, no, I wouldn't be shocked. But do I think they'll be first in the league? Probably not. But I do think they can be top 5, 6, 7 in the league. Wouldn't shock me.
Okay, final one for me, and probably final one for us.
Yes, because we got to go.
Coming up on it. Yeah. Ariel Hawk Purdy overtakes Jericho Sims in the rotation by Christmas. Real or not?
Real. I'm sorry. Look, man, Jericho Sims sometimes is looking lost out there. I know Karl-Anthony Towns has been looking lost out there sometimes on defense, but
Not on
Jericho,
offense though, so that's why he plays.
tis true. I need to see more from Jericho Sims, but I think by the deal that Ariel Hukporti got this week, I know it's non-guaranteed. I think this organization's high on him. They like how he's looking. I think they like a lot of their young players. And listen, Tibbs gave him a look against Cleveland. You saw Kolek get some time there too. I think if these guys start to outplay to the point Brian's making with the vets, you can see these guys getting minutes. And I just think Hukporti's skill set fits this team better. He's also a better passer than Jericho Sims is. So, yeah, by Christmas, I love that you put a date on it. And I see DN in the comments saying Sims ain't it. I'm hearing that from a lot of people. They're not feeling a Jericho Sims, and they do not want him out there. I had a friend of mine text me the other day and was like, yo, same thing DN said. He's like, nah, Dex. Sims ain't it right now. Listen,
he could screen, he could rebound, and that's kind of it.
That's kind of it. And I think in today's NBA, you can't have that limitations when you're not elite defensively, right? And that's the thing. If you're not going to give me any offense, you better be elite defensively. And he's not that. And that's a big part of the problem. So I think Hukporti can play better defensively. I think he give you more versatility on offense, can do a little bit more with the ball. Maybe think of him in the mold of development. I'm not saying he's here now, but in the mold of an Isaiah Hartenstein. I think that's what they would like to see for him in terms of development. So, yeah, man, I think Hukporti is eventually going to take him over there. But we went a little bit over time. We were supposed to do this for 45 minutes. We went a little bit over an hour. It is just about an hour here, but we appreciate everybody for rocking in. Shout out to Jay Quazza. Shout out to DN. Shout out to my guy Ron, still Knicks fans. Everybody else checking in. Definitely shout out to our guest, Jackson Gross of Brew Hoop. Check him out. Andrew Claudio of Knicks Film School for rocking with us. We will be back with you guys next Thursday for more on this Monday. New episode of New York Got Game should be a really good one. I'm going to have multiple guests on this episode, so we're going to talk about a lot of different things. It's going to be good. We're going to preview the matchup with Philly, talk about the Knicks minutes, all the other hot Knicks topics. We'll see how they do this weekend. They got the Bucks. They got the Pacers out in Indiana. Should be a good one. Appreciate everybody checking in. For my guy, Brian Fonseca, doing great stuff. Oh, shout out to my man Greg checking in on the comments. Shout out to Greg. Greg's always talking to me about the Knicks and texting me. Shout out to my guy Greg checking in on the comments. But for my guy, Brian Fonseca, for my wonderful, amazing producer, Jeff Stanberry, doing great. Oh, also shout out to Ron, my guy, Still Knicks Fans. I will be on Still Knicks Fans Monday night, so I'll be joining those guys to talk after the game with the Sixers. So that should be a good one as well, too. So thank you to everybody for checking in. Again, appreciate the love, appreciate the support. Continue to do that. Hit that like button, share on YouTube. Be sure you can listen to this after on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate all of you. I see you guys out there that saying Sims looks lost. I see everybody's on the Sims ain't it train. We hear you. We're going to talk more about Sims this weekend and more as we develop. But salute to everybody. We appreciate it. And we will catch you next week on New York Got Game.
And thanks for watching New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.